NBA season starts tonight.
Ooh.
Set the beat, I flow. Whoa. All when set the beat on flow. Whoa.
And we are live. Welcome, everybody. It is the Money Match Gaming Podcast. Today, we talk 5 games that influenced your life. We'll start with ours. You guys can explain yours out there in the chat. We can have a good conversation about video games today. But first, let me introduce myself. I am the Infinite, a.k.a. Lance, a.k.a. the CEO of Money Match Gaming. And my co-host tonight happens to be the good old fancy Dan Estrata, son.
We're
Fusing up today.
I can't decide where my dimensions are, but we almost have it done.
Yeah, you gotta work it in slow. But Dan, tell them about yourself.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Dan Estrata, the co-host of the Money Match Gaming podcast talk show Extravaganza Spectacular. That's the full name. Don't wear it out. Today we're talking about 5 games that have influenced our life over the years, whether it be small influences or big influences. And I think this will be a fun conversation because some of these games I would say, yeah, these are some of my favorite games. Other ones I'd be like, yeah, they're games that I really like, but they're not in like my top echelon of favorite games, which is interesting. It's not like it's just my list of top 5 games, you know?
Right.
It's a different take on it.
I kind of feel the same way, man. Why don't you start us off? Because I think you know what I'm going to start with, which is why I'm kind of like, all right, let's just go with Dan.
I don't, because I'm going to go from like bottom of my list to top of my list, and the last one I say will be like the one that has influenced the most parts of my life. But we're going to start at number 5 is the newest comer to my list, the newest game, Overwatch.
Oh.
So... yeah, Overwatch is definitely the most recent game on the list, but it has had a pretty big impact on my life. When this game first came out, I was interested in playing with anyone and everyone who was willing to play with me. You know, like I'd get on my Xbox and I'd look through my friends list, and anyone who was on Overwatch, I'm like, toss them an invite. Let's see what we can do. And sometimes this was playing with like people who I normally didn't play with. In one instance, for example, I was playing with one of my buddies, Maddie, and he was playing with 3 of his other friends, and I brought one of my other friends, and then we all became like a big group where we would start playing this game more and more often together until the point where now I am like really good friends with those other of his friends. Like I just got back from Pittsburgh to where I watched one of them get married. So to that extent, I think that Blizzard has this weird way of connecting people through their games. It doesn't seem so much now as it used to, but like when they first come out and stuff like that, community is a big aspect in their games. And I think Overwatch definitely had that. So I thank Overwatch for introducing me to a lot of the friends I have now that I still play Xbox with and that I'm on Xbox with consistently. So yeah, that Overwatch had a large enough impact on my life to make it to the number 5 position on my list.
I mean, I like Overwatch. I really, really do. It's just, you know, and I mean, like, this is going to be like a common theme through a lot of the games that have influenced me. You know, I just hate seeing games that have so much potential, but like always feels like they're so close, but at the same time, like still in need of like a lot of work, you know? And I don't know if that's just kind of my perfection kind of coming out to a degree.
I don't really play Overwatch much anymore. It makes me more mad than it ever does happy, and I can't like get all those 5 other people to play with me anymore. So it's a lot more frustrating now than it once was. But like when Overwatch first came in, man, like that was that was just it was the way it was done. It was great. You made friends on Overwatch. Friends can be made through toxicity. When the game first came out and people were all still learning, and nobody was just like, I'm a Genji main and that's it forever. It wasn't as toxic. So I will say that it became more toxic as time went on. But yes, I did make some lifelong friends, I would say, through Overwatch.
Right. I mean, like, again, it's a great game. I just feel like it still needs some fine tunings. Like, a lot of the times when we have these games that get patched and stuff, I feel like they never really truly find the grooves. And what I mean by that is like they never really try, like they never really figure out the root of the actual problem with the game. So, it's not on my list, but I do enjoy this game. I feel like Gears of Wars is one of those games to where like it's a great game. It did a lot of things well, but like some of the most important aspects of the game, they just kind of ruin. Like there's like this variable damage thing that it's like you have to play with this distance, and sometimes, like it works perfect. And then a lot of the times, like same distance, shoot at the same time, one of them kills you, the other one is alive. And there's like so many aspects of that. And I feel like, this is one of those games that I feel like isn't quite in those grooves. Not to say that they don't do a bad job, because yeah, see, damage made no sense in Gears. We can all agree. Exactly. So it's like there's like all these different elements to where it's like you're used to playing something like Halo, hint hint is coming. To where it's like everything's so measured and calculated and so on and so forth. And there's a science to it. And that game, man, I love that game. But I tell you what, like, I don't know why they couldn't get that right. There's like so many games that do, but like that just, and it just irritates me because they keep coming after installment of game after game. And I'm like, you guys haven't fixed the issue I feel like everyone's been complaining about since the game started. Like, why? Explain why this is so confusing. Explain why the damage varies so much. Like, you can't do that and have a competitive game. And I feel like that's what Blizzard does best, in my opinion. They create competitive games like StarCraft, and there's really high skills ceilings and stuff like that. But I feel like Overwatch is, for me at least, my experience is it's too linear. That like they just, I can't play the characters that I want because they're just not the best, And I feel like that's kind of like why I can't play the game. I'm like, oh, you want to play Soldier? Well, there's a ton of other great DPSs that you should be playing in this current meta period. So it's like, I don't know.
I think what people need to understand is that at lower tiers, meta doesn't matter. Like, meta means nothing at lower tiers.
I mean, there are some clear overpowered characters. Like, I'm not great at Hanzo by any means, but if you spam enough arrows, somebody's going to die, period. And then there's other characters to where it's like you actually do have to be decently proficient to actually do the same kind of work. Like, literally, just spam arrows down a choke, somebody's going to die.
I don't do good with Hanzo ever. That's why I don't touch him.
Really?
Yeah, zero, almost zero playtime with Hanzo. Same with Widowmaker. Not my style of play.
Well, Widowmaker, I'd get crushed. I feel like there is a decent amount of skill to her, aim-wise, but, like, anyway. I don't know. Hanzo was definitely cheap.
So what's your number 5?
Well, I got to start with 1. I'm just okay. Like one of those guys.
You count down, I count up, whatever.
Okay, see, there you go. Sell them like kitties, Dude, Hanzo puts more damage than Reaper. Hanzo needs to get nerfed and have 4 O's instead of 6. See, like it's just true, dude. Like the character's he's outrageous.
I'm not saying it's not. I don't think like anybody can just pick it. I mean, I can't pick it up and play with him, so I assume there's other people who don't have fun playing with him either.
So here it comes. I got to get it out the way so I can stop fanboying. That's why I'm kind of starting with it. Like the greatest game of all time for me, and probably the biggest influencers, kind of for a lot of the same reasons, which is Halo. It's just my game, dude. Like, it's just my damn game.
I mean, I know that's why I sent you. I was playing Forza Horizon 4 earlier and bought a new Warthog. And I sent it over to Lance.
Yeah, and I smiled, and I was like, I wanted to do that like Dave Chappelle meme to where, he's like, yeah, we're on the plane. And that terrorist was like, everybody get down, get the fuck down. And he's like, there was only one other black dude on the plane. And we looked at each other and eyes contact. That's all he said. That's all he did. And he's like, and then I hear all these other people like, oh gosh, they're going to do something. And he's like, nah, we were just acknowledging we were the only persons that he wasn't going to take hostage, so we were good. And it's like, it's kind of, that's kind of what I wanted to do, is just kind of looking you in the eyes and go,
There's actually a really cool Halo mission in that game too. But go on talking about.
I'll ooze a little bit here. It's the first game of my entire experience where I actually felt like the competitiveness of the game was just so uber great. Like, I'm gonna use all these weird words, but like, there was so much craft to your ability to kill somebody in that game. There was so many different aspects that you needed to be good at, and it just felt great. There's so many elements that you just love. You love the story. You love the experience. It was like one of the first games that you kind of really wanted to just go out and meet people. They have all those documentaries of people talking about how they used to hook up Xboxes. It was
LAN
one of those
parties, baby.
Yeah, it was one of those games that just started this fervor of just fanatic people, and the game is just awesome. It's just so damn awesome to where, like, there were so many things that made you good at the game that weren't cheap. It wasn't cheesy. It was, I'm good. And it's one of the first games that I picked up to where, like, it didn't feel like I had to learn any gimmicks. I just had to be good with the tools that they gave you. And everything that they gave you in that game had a purpose. You could make it work given the situation. You didn't pick up a power weapon and suddenly feel like God because somebody could snipe you. You didn't feel like a god because you can snipe because somebody could grenade you. You didn't feel like a god because you were in a tank because somebody can jump on it and punch you out of it. There was just so many elements. And it wasn't like, those things happen. You're like, oh, I'm trash, or, oh, this is useless. It was, oh, I misplayed. And I should have had more stage awareness. I should have had better aim. I should have had better gun knowledge. I should have been playing these games the way they were kind of designed. And like, that's just why I lose so much, because like, I just don't get that anymore. I just don't, like sometimes in a lot of these games that have been coming out, I just don't feel the kind of skill necessary to play the game. I feel cheesiness, I just play all these games and I'm kind of like, why does it feel this way? Like it just doesn't feel like winning's earned the same kind of way for that game itself. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I just can't like this game enough. I can't tell you how many hours I put into it. I can't tell you how much fun we had.
Or is this Halo 1? Or?
It's Halo 1 and Halo 2, to be honest. Okay. Yeah, and they killed it with Reach. I wouldn't say they killed it with Reach. They killed it with everything after Reach. Reach wasn't even a bad game. A lot of
people liked Reach.
Reach is still played today. It's a liked game. There's some weird things about that specific game.
I would say 343 killed it rather than Bungie. I think Bungie had a good product there.
Yeah, 343. Yeah, see, Solomon, take it easy, Dave. Like, take it easy, dude. Like,
he's firing at you, dude.
Well, yeah, because it's just like he was a late adopter to Halo, anyways. Like COD 4. I'm like, dude, it's a terrible game, man. Like, terrible. And it's just like, and then he got caught in the magic. You play a couple campaign missions, and then you kind of like, even the story is great. I don't know if I can complain about anything that Halo's done. And obviously the trilogy that I'm thinking of, like, don't quote me on all the other ones, because it's not that they're bad games. They just didn't keep it Halo. Yeah, they didn't keep it Halo.
They changed what made the formula work.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things that I'm like,
although those games, I mean, 5 is still pretty popular, which is surprising.
It's not a bad game. It's just not Halo.
Right. It's just, like, it feels different.
That's it. Like, it's not a bad game at all. It's just like, hey, we've been playing Halo. You have people like me who love the game. I love the damn game. I love the game. And, like, I'm still talking about it. I love the game. And then it's not the same game. You're playing something entirely different.
My buddy Julian loves Halo games unconditionally. Like, he plays Halo 5 daily still to this day, which is wild to me.
It's a good game. Like, I'm not going to say it's not a good game. It's just not Halo. Like, I don't know. I just can't can't get into it like that. I was playing it, I liked it, but I was sitting there like, yo, this is not Halo. And a lot of it was like the maps, to be honest. The maps needed to be a little bit bigger. Yeah. They were too small. They were too Call of Duty like, to where it was like.
I thought the maps in that game were pretty huge. At least the big team battles.
Well, the big team battles, sure, but just the regular arena, I feel like they used to be bigger. Now it feels like you spawn and someone's shooting at you, and I was like, that's not quite right. And maybe it has more to do with how much mobility you have in the game. So maybe the maps are the same size, but when you increase the mobility, they're obviously smaller. So it's like, they just needed to be bigger. And maybe I could have gotten into it more. I just hated spawning and then, somebody ringing my bells. I just don't need that. And then they kind of get in those loadouts and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, that's not Halo. Everybody should start with the same weapon. We should run for weapons. We should control the weapons. People should get outplayed, not spawn with the weapons that they need to do what they want to do. That was just weird. But for sure, easily, Halo. And then there's a couple other reasons, because this game was the father of online console gaming. It is the example that everybody should be using to go into their online console gaming. So Nintendo, take notes, man. This paved the way, and they did an awesome job. They just outdid themselves with that system, to where it was just so great on so many different levels. And I'm kind of like, yeah, Care Patch just did suck. It just, it was cool how they came in, but in the end of the day, they was kind of like, do these belong here? Is this Halo? All right, I'll stop there though, because
okay,
I could go on.
I was letting you go. Dude.
It's just such a big.
That's what
part
I'm saying.
Of my life.
See, that's why I'm going the opposite way. I'm starting with the influential games, but not my top one, because when I get to my top one, I'm gonna talk a lot about it. So it's just swap. Okay, so my number 4 is a game that was on the Nintendo 64 console.
Ooh.
And it's called Ken Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball.
Ooh.
So growing up, I liked games mainly because my older brother did. He's a big role model in my life. He was then, still is now to some extent. This game, however, is not something I played much with my brother, but more so with my future brother-in-law, my sister's boyfriend. When I was in kindergarten, he used to pick me up from school and kind of babysit me until my parents would get home. Never was really too sure why he did this. I don't know if it was to up his stock with my sister, or if he was just a good guy. I mean, I think it's generally because he's just a good guy. But every day he would pick me up from kindergarten and we'd come back to my house and we'd play Ken Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball. And I would win a lot. However, in hindsight, it's because he would just throw, fastballs down the plate and I'll just smash him, and I would actually pinpoint my pitch because I was a little kid and he didn't want to beat me. I guess I don't know. He's nicer to me than I am with his son, because I don't play no games.
Yeah, I don't hold back.
We're playing this game. We're playing this game, baby. But yeah, so to this day we still have a good relationship because I think mainly of that game, because we don't have a lot of things in common. But every Christmas and stuff, we'll break out the new Madden and be like, yo, it's Christmas time. It's that Madden 1-on-1. We play each other every year. And it's it's great. And it really is the thing that me and my brother-in-law connect with. And I don't think I ever would even be into sports games if it wasn't for that game itself, which is the best baseball game of all time, is a very fun game. It had a home run derby mode, which was awesome. And yeah, I used to have it right next to me. I don't know if I still do. Let me see. I don't. I have Wayne Gretzky's hockey, but not the N64 game I'm talking about right now. But no, I can't say enough good things about that game. And just like I said, I feel like it brought me closer to my brother-in-law. So for that, I think Ken Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball for the N64. There was a sequel. I think it was called Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugger Fest. something of that nature. It was not as good. It was much worse. I didn't own that one. I only owned the first one. But yeah, that was my number 4.
All right, so I'm going to go to my 5. I had to get it out the way because it's literally one of the few games that I'm like, I can actually gush about. And that is Mega Man. The reason Mega Man has such a close part of my heart is like, it's actually like one of the reasons why I was capable of, like, why I kept gaming. It was one of the few games to where I played it and people actually acknowledged, hey, you're good at that. You know, so like as a young child, you know, I'm really young. You know, it was one of the first things that people were like, yo, I couldn't beat that level. You know, and you know, my older cousins are handing me the controller like, hey, beat this level for me. You know, and it was like one of those first games that really kind of let me know I had some talent to some degree. Like now, not to say that I didn't feel talented at all as a child. It was just one of those things to where it was so reinforced. You know, because like when you're playing it and everybody's around you and they're like, yo, man, get it, oh, he's about to die. And, you know, I'm like all those different types of things, you know, and it was just one of those games that was kind of the staging grounds of me playing games. Like I still love it today. It's just
you played
like,
11 yet?
Not yet. I didn't want to buy it. I know it's cheaper. It's only like $30, but I was like, you know, like I'll buy it when I get it because there was other games that my family wanted to play. Mario Party. I'm so mad you were right. I'm so mad that you can only play mini games online. But I've crushed my roommate a couple times. My friend Donald, you know, I've crushed him like almost every time. I'm actually good at that game too. I just win every damn mini game. Like, you know, so it's just like I have all the money. And even if I don't get the star, you know, the most stars, you know, I get that bonus star because there's always a mini game bonus star. And, you know,
I heard they dropped the amount needed to a star to 10, which I think I don't like that. It makes it so anybody can get like a star whenever.
Yeah, but the game's short. Like have you played it yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so
I know you can only do 20 turns.
Right, and the stage is like a lot smaller. And I don't know, it feels like it goes faster. That is another game that I feel like they haven't learned, you know, why people love their game. You know, like they just don't know. They're just making things, and I'm kind of like, yo, like I didn't know it could only go to 20 turns because I've only been able to play for like, you know, a couple minutes, and I'm guessing that's what they think. You know, people they're busy, they have other things to do, but you know, like one of the greatest things about the game is putting it on like 50 turns, and then. You know.
Yeah, and having a long ass game with your friends when you're like 10 years old.
Right. That was
it's a lot more difficult to plan how to do that when you're 26.
Right, right. But that was one of the greatest appeals to the game itself. You know, no different than Smash Bros.
Having a snow day and inviting like your boys from the neighborhood over and being like, yo, let's get this Mario Party on, baby.
You know, and you know, insults are thrown. You know, those types of things. But like
someone ends the game with like 30 stars somehow. You're like, you're a jerk. I hate you.
How is this happening? It's just like I don't know. It boggles my mind. I'm like, you guys like you're always on the cusp of something amazing, something great, something awesome, and then you just like, all right, how can I make this not perfect? And that's not always true, but I definitely feel that way with Mario Party. It's like the first one came out, everybody's like, you guys did a great job. I love this game. And then, you know, you get 2 to 3, you're like, oh, it's still good. You know, I don't know why they got rid of all the other content. And then, you know, they just keep running it into the ground. But that's okay. This one's decent. This one's decent. I'm surprised they got rid of the Bowser mode. But you can only play with the little side thing, and I'm guessing that's why, possibly, because you'd have to buy all these extra little pads to actually play the game with 5 players. But that game mode wasn't bad. So the one they made last time, it wasn't bad. It was just that you couldn't play the original mode. Like, please, like, stop. Like, it infuriates me. But
let's go back to Mega Man though, as that's what we're actually talking about.
Right. And that's really it. That's what makes that game so great to me. And I think it's low on my list is because it's one of those games that failed to evolve. I feel like it's still Mega Man, you know? And I mean, that's great.
I mean, and to be fair, if it's in 5, it's not really low on your list. These are all still very highly ranked games in your life to some extent.
Right, and I'm not like pooping on it, but I do. There's a lot more they could do with the game, and I get that the old tried and true formula works.
The new one is a little different from what I
A little bit.
understand.
They added gears.
There's stores, there's gears, there's
and
like a currency system type deal.
right, but it's not
difficulties.
Yeah, the difficulty I heard was hard. It took me a while to beat the demo when my friend.
Well, I mean, like there's 3, like you can adjust the difficulty is what I'm saying. There's 3 different like easy, medium, hard, which is not common for Mega Man, where it's just this is the difficulty and it's hard.
welcome.
Yeah.
But that's my number 5. That's where I'd leave it.
All right, so I'm on my number 3. And the third game on my list is DDR or Stepmania. So anyone who knows me now knows I play a lot of rhythm games, and this would have never happened if it wasn't for DDR and actually Parappa the Rappa before that. But at the time, I didn't recognize Parappa the Rappa really as a rhythm game because part of what made your score so high was to not actually be on rhythm and to just smash the buttons, just sort of in rhythm and like create your own remix. Like you'd be like kick, punch, and you'd be like kick, 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 punch, punch. So you got to add your own flair to it. So it's a little different. But DDR is Stepmania, and admittedly, I only initially played DDR because in middle school I was interested in this girl, and she was interested in DDR. So I was like, yeah, I'm totally gonna try and play that game. But soon after I played it, I forgot that was the reason I was doing it because I loved it. And it led me to O2 Jam and Guitar Hero and Donkey Konga and Super Beat Sonic and Mucinex and Rock Band and Persona 4 Dancing All Night and soon to be Persona 5 Dancing Star Night and Persona 3 Dancing Moon Night. Like Audio Surf, Beat Hazard, all these different rhythm games
serious? Yeah,
I never would have played before playing DDR. And DDR has made me, because I'm a big music guy. Like I love listening to music. I love having music on when I do everything. I mean, I feel like those are very generic comments and anyone probably agrees with those. But I love the aspect of mixing my music with my game. Like when I was in high school, my cousin asked me to help make him, we wanted to make a game together because he was going to school for game design, and he and I was like working on making my own music, and we were going to try and make a game where it was like a side scroller with rhythm game mechanics to it, where playing the game you had to be on some sort of rhythm. And there are games like that now. There's like Beat in the Necromancer, or what is it? Oh, dang. I forget what it's called now. Dang. Metronomicon. That's one of them. I can't remember the one I was thinking of before. There's also Bit Trip series. Those are kind of rhythm games in a sense and aren't traditional rhythm games. So DDR is what opened my eyes to all that. And when I was growing up, I had a one of those foam DDR pads. Like it was not quite the top tier DDR pad, but it wasn't the bottom tier one, like the foldable ones that like you get with the game. And if you tried playing on them, you just slip all around the floor because they don't hold on to anything, and they were silly. But I had the ones that were like fixed, so you could like step on them and they would stay there, and it was good. And then my cousin moved in. He had a metal pad, which we had in the basement, which I wish we still had. Like, I wish I still had that. He left and he took it to where he moved, and he has his own little setup at his house, but I wish I still had that here because that would be like the one thing keeping me in shape, because I would play that game all the time. Like, that game is awesome. That game is a lot of fun, especially with Stepmania, which is like a DDR for the computer where you could download and import songs that other people created. And it was great. Like, I remember playing the only reason I know about Lazy Town is because there was a song in that it's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake. Like, that was one of the songs we would play a lot just because it was silly. And so DDR is definitely up there for one of my most influential games. And I love DDR, man. I still like when I'm like going to arcades or somewhere and I'll see DDR. I'm like almost instinctively, I'm like, I gotta play this. All right, let me get on here.
I would have never ever guessed, Dan. I mean, I know you said you liked rhythm games themselves, but like I never went to DDR. You know, it's not that I hate DDR
like
either.
I play with it. Like I hold on to the bar too. Like when we had the metal pad, like we had the bar too, and that's where I learned how to use the bar. And like I'll hold on to it and play it because it like helps me balance myself as I play harder songs and stuff, and it's great.
I liked watching people in the arcade do that though, when like arcades were kind of a thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, I miss them. You don't really see arcades too much.
hey, we're gonna bring it back, dude. Like
I mean,
that's actually the
Dave
mission of Money
the thing
Match
is,
Gaming.
there's Dave and Buster's, which are like goodbye mom and pop arcades. Here come big arcade with all of our phone games turned into big games for some reason.
Like we plan to bring it back though. Like that literally is in the very like vision of the game or Money Match Gaming itself. And one of the big things that I was like talking about when I pitched pitched my friends basically, this is what I want to create. It'll be attached to a bigger kind of thing. It's not kind of like and there's like different ways that I want to incorporate it. But yeah, that's definitely one of the dreams. And like they're kind of coming back, but they're coming back in a different way, in my opinion, to where like my brain says that that's the right way to go, to where you just have a bunch of computer towers that have a bunch of different games on them, and you just change out the information or software on the computer, and like you can play with whatever controller you want, you can rent them and stuff like that. There's like a lot of cool ideas that I had about it, but
we have these things by us called we have barcades, which are like bars mixed with arcades. But we have these other places that I can't remember what they're called right now. But they're essentially like a place where you pay to hang out for an hour, and they have like literally all these games. Like they have all the consoles and like all these rhythm games and arcade setups and what have you. And we got a guest. Sometimes stuff happens, Life of a father. But I'll continue talking to you guys. Yestercades, that's what these places are called. So yestercades are these places. You pay like I think it's like $6 an hour or something like that. You can play whatever games you want. You go with your friends. If it's past I think like 8 or 9, it's BYOB. So you can like bring like a 6-pack or something and just hang out and jam out, do whatever you want. Like they got DDR pads, they got all these different arcade cabinet setups. They have all the consoles available. Yeah, man, yestercades. If you live by any place that has something similar to that, I would definitely recommend checking it out. As I am the only person here now, and Lance is a little bit preoccupied, let's go to the floor for questions or comments, or if anyone wants to say anything in the chat about maybe a game that's influenced them, or want to comment further on games that have influenced us. I understand there's like a 15-second delay, so I shouldn't expect an immediate response, but I'm a little upset there isn't one. Yeah, man. Happens. No harm, no foul, Lance. If you're listening to this later, I'm not upset at you. Your daughter got upset or scared or something, and you're just being a good dad. And he's back.
My bad, guy. I heard most of it, not all of it though.
No, I was just meandering for a little bit there.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, that's all I got for my DDR inclusion onto my list.
This makes me smile. Game number 4 is Legend of Dragoon. I love that game. I love that game, and it's got to come back, dude. Like, it doesn't have to come back as Legend of Dragoon. The formula has to come back. Like, I love turn-based games. I just do. And I like games like XCOM. I like Valkyrie Chronicles. I like Fire Emblem types of games. I like Orc Tactics. I didn't play too much Final Fantasy Tactics, but I just love those games.
Strategy games. You like tactical strategy games.
Yeah, I love them. And
do you ever play Mario and Rabbids?
No, but it
you
reminded me
don't have
of.
you just got a Switch.
Yeah,
right?
I just got one, and then
Yeah,
I kind of
I've heard that game is actually pretty good, surprisingly.
Yeah, people like it. I love those types of games. I just do. And like it saddens me that these don't get the play that they deserve. It's just like a lot of it's because they just don't evolve, and they don't build on everything that they do well. They just I don't know, ride the same formula. And they wrote it into, like, they didn't write it into the ground. It's just people wanted something different. And I understand why that kind of game itself, because like Square Enix was kind of the lead on that, in my opinion. They seem to be the leader still, to some degree. And and I understand why a lot of people don't like those types of games, but like, I don't know. I think Persona 5 is like the greatest example to where like it proves that it's successful. It's a successful type of game. People do want them. They want them. It's just you got to do it well. Like that's just that. And
I mean, I heard Dragon Quest is actually really good too.
Yeah. I wanted to get it. It's just no fun for it yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the price drop as well. I'm going to get it at some point though, because I've only heard really good things about it.
Right, and I watched a couple of people play it. It seems good and everything like that. It's just these games I think are in demand. I just think that in general, like, they haven't been done well, and I feel like Legend of Dragoon never really got its true shine. It just never did. And I think it was more popular in America than it was in Japan, which is like the biggest reason why it didn't continue. But I think that game formula has so much potential, and like. I'm gonna start getting to like some of the things that because like these games remind me like why I started Money Match Gaming, why it's important to me, like the vision of our company and so on and so forth, and where I want to take it in the long run. And definitely one of the things that like I want to do is I want to fund games. I want to buy like studios and kind of push this gaming agenda that I want to see so badly. And possibly, and like the angle I took even, at the same time is like, like there's a lot of games that have so much potential but just don't reach it. And so like I'm like kind of super excited of possibly becoming like a meta like mod shop to a degree, one that has the clout and power to actually mod games and not get in trouble to some degree, whether that be, backroom deals, kind of paying people for the right to do that, incorporating it within the system and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of games that kind of do have that modding, community and so on and so forth. And I really think that's the future of games. And like this game itself just reminds me why I want to do it. It's just one of those games and I'm like, dude, that formula is so good. I had so much fun playing that game. I still remember it today. I bought it like 3 or 4 times, I mean, obviously that's because of system shifting and stuff, and like actually gaining the ability to do it and stuff like that, and buying it on my friends' systems because we lived close enough that I could actually do that, and I didn't even get to beat the game, so that's how desperate I was for that game. And it's just one of those games that just sits well with me because I'm like, man, like I just wanted that to be the future of this genre of games, and I've been let down, Dan. Well, I've been let down, Dan.
I'm sorry, but you never know, man. We live in a time where a reboot of a game from 20, 30 years ago that you might never think of happening again could potentially rear its head around. Enough noise is made. You just gotta see. You're starting to make the noise. We just need more voices to follow you.
They don't care about us, man. That's just how I feel. They don't care.
You'd be
about
surprised.
Us, man.
There's a Shemune 3 coming out or whatever.
Right.
And that was a game that no one ever expected to exist.
They don't care about us, man.
Be surprised, man. You never know.
Just don't care about me. All right.
So we'll move on to my number 2. This is a game that is in my top. This is one of my favorite games of all time. This, number 2, is Borderlands 2, baby. Ooh. And this is the game that actually truly got me back into playing games. When I was in college, after I started, I got into the life of college and kind of let go on games for a bit. I had a couple of them, but I never really played any of them too much. I would stop playing them like midway through or even a quarter way through just because I just wasn't doing it as much. The only games I really spent too much time was sports games and fighting games because I'd play that with my other friends in college. But then around 2012, when I was living off campus in my apartment with my roommate, for Christmas, I got Borderlands 2, and instantly took a liking to that game. Like, it just hit me like, bam, like, oh man, I forgot how much I love video games because like the writing was good. Like the comedy was spot on. The characters were enjoyable. The game itself was a lot of fun. The playing it with a friend was incredible, and like the co-op in the game was so engaging. Just having, like, I'll play it split screen with my buddy, or I'd play it online with other friends, and everything about that game made me fall back in love with video games as a whole. I truly think, to some extent, if I hadn't gotten that game, I would not be playing as many video games as I do now. And granted, that's still a common video game I play. I play Borderlands 2. Honestly, it might be my most played game this year, which is pretty surprising. But I have leveled up a few characters with a few different people who had never played it before. But Borderlands 2, man, it was like a revelation to me, man. I have Borderlands 2 stuff on my wall. I got pops. I got the diamond loot crate. Like, I got the crate from the damn game that you get loot in it. I love Borderlands. I do. And it has influenced me in the fact that if it wasn't for Borderlands, maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, because I wouldn't give a shit about video games or anything of that. I wouldn't be as deep into the life as I feel like I am now. So that's a big thank you to Borderlands.
It's a good game. I like it.
It is.
Like, it's one of those few games, though, that I feel like it gets a little ridiculous, like super late game, when you're like playing on the harder difficulties. But
I don't know. I've leveled up characters by myself all the way up, and I've leveled characters with friends all the way up. It wasn't until recently that I killed raid bosses for the first time, because I never had enough. Either I had enough friends because I've just been doing it with one other person, but I just didn't have the friends who cared to figure out how to essentially break the game, like my one friend Mike likes to do, where he likes to figure out what's the most overpowered things and run with it.
Grind them out, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Get the guns you need, and then just go kill everything, which is smart. It's not normally how I play that game, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. Makes you feel a lot stronger.
Right. That right there, what you just explained, is like one of the reasons why I love and hate video games themselves, is like that kind of situation. Let's like, what's the exploit? Okay, well, what should I actually be looking for, instead of just being like, skill. Skill is what you need. Timing, patterns, recognizing, dodging, all those different types of things. Although that's not talking down on Borderlands, because I love Borderlands myself. It's just that I don't know. It just reminds me of Halo. That's just pretty much it. So it's like that oozed out a little bit. But I'll go to my game number 3, which is a game I don't think you understand or know of. I shouldn't say understand. You don't know of, which is Kingdom Under Fire. I've mentioned it a couple times on our podcast, and I talk about it a little bit. It's kind of like this RTS almost, but it's also like a strategy game, to where you're like telling units what to do, but like you are in control of one. You're in control of one. So imagine like a Dynasty Warriors type of situation, except that you're a part of a group of units. So you run around with your like bodyguards and stuff, and you're usually like basic infantry, and you run around as that. And when that army like hits another unit, you can control the hero of that army, and you can swing punches, and you can swing around while you're controlling different aspects of your army and stuff. So you can have like horsemen, and they'll run through the enemy and stuff like that. And there's like mages, there's paladins, there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of races, and it's like this real interesting real-time strategy that, again, it's one of those games that I just loved. I loved that game. I was in love as soon as I picked it up, and it was strange because when I picked that game up, like I don't know, I find games in such weird ways, especially during those days, because it was my birthday. And so I had all my friends over, so there's like 10 people at my house. We're like linking systems and so on and so forth. and somebody brought me this game, and I was kind of like, it might have been my little brother, and he was like, oh yeah, let's get this. This looks cool. And I was like, it's a 1-player game, dude. Like, and I think we had this renting center called Sights and Sounds. I love Sights and Sounds. It was like a Blockbuster, if you're kind of don't catch my drift. But they used to have this
like a local Blockbuster type.
Right,
We
right.
had one of those too. It's called like Palmer Video or something like that.
and they used to have these 5 for $5 deals, so you could go in and basically for $1 rent 5 different games. So I'd host these parties, especially on like things like my birthday, and I would just invite people, and we'd rent like 10 games, and we would just play like 2 days straight of like all the different things that we
Yeah,
rented.
because that was back before you had to spend the whole night installing the game onto the hard drive before you could play it.
Right. You know, those kinds of days and stuff. And so we used to just have a lot of fun, and we'd find beauties. And that was one of those games. And I remember looking at I think it was my little brother, and I was looking at him, and I'm like, dude, we have like 12 people at our house. You know, there's going to be like 2 people sitting out watching people play games, man. Maybe on our Game Boys or something while we're all chilling, laughing, making jokes, and so on and so forth. I was like, it's not fair for us to get this 1-player game. And he just looked at me like, nah, brother.
We're getting
This is the one.
Yeah,
And
I see what you're saying, and I hear you, but no.
But it's 5 for 5, you know, like we're not even going to get through all 5
You got
or 10
these other
games.
4 games anyway, right?
Yeah, it's like, come on, bro. You know, and then like I got there, and you know, I think my friends like were helping my parents like do some things around the house for my birthday, so it'd be all special or whatever. So they're like, oh, just stay down there, we're gonna prepare or whatever. And they all kind of went up and stuff, and I was like, all right, where's that 1-player game? And I just put it in, and oh man, I just oozed. I was so intrigued, you know. And I mean, these games that I'm talking about on the list always leave me so fulfilled. You know, and that's what I love about these games is like, you know, you get done playing them and there's not this, man, that was kind of blah, you know, nah, like my eyes light up, you know, I'm like, goodness gracious, this is such a beautiful game. And it was just everything that I wanted in a damn game. And I just love games like this. Like, I just love that game. And it was short. It just didn't satisfy my needs. You know, when you're playing the campaign, you know, like the game itself, like doesn't even allow you to play with all the units. Like you don't even get to experience every unit in the game. Like some of them are meant to be like played online and you build your own little armies and stuff. And you know, I'm like,
What console was this game for?
Xbox, the original one. And
Hey, maybe it'll go backwards compatible.
oh, it did. And
okay.
I have it somewhere, and it doesn't quite play the same. You know how sometimes backward compatible kind of is a wee bit broken. I think it was a wee bit broken, you know, and like maybe it was something like I couldn't save something, or there was like heroes I couldn't play with, you know, and it really killed my vibe. I still have it though; it's around somewhere. And then they had a couple extra ones after it, and they have like an online version right now that is out. I think it's out. I stopped following it because, you know, it was one of those games that I felt like kind of lost its soul, or maybe they just focused more on its original audience, because I think it's a Japanese game that kind of made its way, but now it's like strictly over there, and you know, it must not did well over here. But I loved that game. I still do. And you know, again, this is one of those games like I don't know if you know of him, but I listened to this guy named Gary Vaynerchuk who talks about owning this marketing like engine that buys, you know, washed up brands and then turns them through their little system and then spits them out, and voila, he made a bunch of money, and then he resells the brand for like twice as much. Like without the reselling part, I love the idea of going to some of these studios that just have awesome games and just juicing them with light, you know, or life. Sorry, not light, life, and kind of just bringing back some of those feelings that I used to get playing some of these games, which is just real, true entertainment, true fulfillment, just happiness, you know, happiness, because that game helped bring happiness to my life on you know, my born day. So like it was even bittersweet in a lot of senses, but that game, still love it, still great, still a part of me. I still think about it. I'm like, man, if we could do all these different things, and you know, sometimes, you know, like games continue the story in some way. Like I really wish this game was in the DLC days, and they could just give me more.
Yeah.
More of the same thing, you know, because it had an interesting story. It was kind of blah because clearly, like, you know, limited money and all that other stuff, but still one of my favorite games.
Cool. I guess this brings me to my number one most influential game of all time. Lance, do you know what it is? Can you take?
Persona 5.
Incorrect.
Really?
Not Persona 5 is my favorite game, but not
most
on the list.
Okay.
It did not influence me at all. Well, I mean, I guess it influenced me to buy a PS4, but whatever. But no, my most influential game of all time is World of Warcraft. And there's so much I can say about this game, and I will, because I wrote a little script, so I'm probably going to read from it. This game was my adolescence. I played it all through high school and a bit of college, a little bit of middle school. I can't say of any other game that I've ever played that held my attention quite like World of Warcraft did. I mean, like, I even picked it up and played it again a year ago. The game has been out for what feels like 15 years now or something like that. It's been out for quite some time. But WoW is now a very different game from when it started. But when it first started, it was a big ingrained feature into the game, whether it was intended or not, was, like I said, with Overwatch, was the community aspect. Community and Blizzard kind of go hand in hand, where one just seems to always go with the other. So back in the day, I would play this game sometimes with friends, but a lot of times I'd end up making friends through the game more so than bringing my own friends into the world along with me. When I started playing, I stuck with my cousin mostly, my older cousin, the one who used to live with me. He would carry me around because he was really good at the game, and I was not particularly good. And we ended up in this smaller guild in Vanilla WoW. I can't for the life of me remember what that guild is called, and I'm probably going to be shamed for it if I send this video to any of those guys. But I was in this guild, and most of those guys were from Baltimore. And they became pretty close with us, specifically my cousin. And my cousin would go out there and visit him as he was older than me. And at the time, I was like 14 and 15 or something of that nature. And my parents were not too fond of me trying to meet people off the internet, which, you know, understandable. I do still, however, maintain contact with one of the dudes who was in that guild who was around my age. He still is around my age. He hasn't changed ages from me somehow. And we talk on Twitter about Rocket League all the time. But from there, we eventually left because that guild was smaller and we wanted to move on to like a raiding guild. So we joined this guild called You Must Be Critting Me. And this is where the influence on my life really started to take place. I mean, other than the fact that prior to this, you know, I'm playing this game. I go to school, I come home, I pretend to do homework, but really I'm playing WoW until 4 o'clock in the morning and getting yelled at, and then rinse, wash, repeat. Like that was my life in high school. I played so much WoW. But you know, we joined You Must Be Critting Me, and that's when the game really started coming seriously because we wanted to start raiding. So I was about 16 and 17 at the time. I still wasn't very good at the game. Didn't get chosen for a lot of raids, and that was what it was. But this was a bigger guild. And I'd hang out in Ventrilo a lot, which was like, it's like Discord where people would like go to chat. And I would sit in there and I'm, you know, 16, 17, I'm looking for where I want to go to college, what I want to do after high school, what my life's going to bring me. And I became really good close with the guild leader of this guild, Abendigo. And Abendigo would often talk to me, and he was one of the few people who like treated me in that guild. Like a lot of people, they called me Little Danny because little. My name is Danny, so you know. He used to also call me Little Danny, but he a lot of times treated me like I was more of an adult than everybody else. Who was like, "You're just a dumb kid, you dumb kid. Get good at the game, get stupid kid." Which, you know, in hindsight, I get. Because that's, you know, when you're older, you don't really want to play with little kids, but when you're a little kid, you want to play with people who are older. But yeah, so he became a good friend of mine, and we were talking a lot. and I was interested in teaching for college. That's what I wanted to go to school for. And he was like, "Hey, man, I go to this school that has a really good teaching program. It's called Bowling Green State University. You should come here and check it out." And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, cool," because all the schools I applied to were in New Jersey, and they would be schools I commuted to. Let me check out another school outside of my state that would be different, change of pace from the life I'm used to living. And I decided why not. So I go out there, and that's where I think, was that the first time I met a Bendigo? I think that was the first time I met him, was when I went out there to go visit the school. I went to, I visited the school with my parents, and I was like, "Man, this place is awesome." And then he hit me up, and we hung out afterwards. Like, my parents, we went to the hotel, and he was like, "Hey, want to go hang out?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that." So I hung out with them a little bit. And it was a lot of fun. It was a pretty cool experience, and I ended up going to school there. Now, looking back on that, if I had not played World of Warcraft, or if I had not ended up in You Must Be Critting Me, or any of those things, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be wearing a Cavaliers shirt probably, because I never would have gone to Ohio to have any sort of interest in them. I would not have met Smurf, who in turn would not have introduced me to you, and this podcast would not be a thing. So yeah, I mean, WoW, I think, had a big influence in my life, because it helped me in making one of the bigger choices in my life to this point. So for that, I think WoW a lot. I mean, granted, it's not the same game it was then that it is now. It feels like a lot more faceless. You can kind of play the whole game without ever having to interact with people, which is a bummer, but it is what it is. It changes. Times change. People's opinions of things change. But WoW at the time was a big part of my life, and a part of me, to the point where it helped decide my life. I love WoW. I loved WoW a lot. I played a lot of it in high school. I had a few friends who I played with from here. But I mean, really, most of my friends were the people in my guild, and I would talk to them all the time. And I've been to one of their weddings, because I talked earlier how I went to that wedding from the dude from Overwatch. But I went to one of their weddings where it was like our whole guild had a table, which was great.
That's
was
pretty cool.
Like 15 of us guild mates at a table, just kind of like shooting the shit about the good old days and all that good stuff. And yeah, wow, man, wow. Yeah. WoW is, I would say, the most influential game in my life.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. Like, mine always. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm gonna finish this and then kind of have a few closing statements a little bit. But my second game is another Blizzard game. It is StarCraft. This has a weird place in my heart, because I like the game, but I wasn't like consumed by the game or anything like that. Some of these other games, like, I'm like fervored, just I need it, I love it, this, that, and the other. This was kind of just, I have so much respect for this game. I feel like this game has done so much for the general community and so on and so forth, as far as like esports and all that other stuff. It's one of those games that, like, I respect so much, because like Halo, it kind of has this weird skill cap to where the game just slid those pieces into place to where it felt like competition was real competition.
I'd even go as far to saying that StarCraft might be like one of the first really
true
played esports.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely one of them. Obviously, not so much in America. We're a lot slower in that, but and a lot of these other players like Korea, it was a big thing.
My uncle would not. He hated playing StarCraft online, because he's like, I'd always get beat up by the Koreans.
Yeah, because they're good.
Yeah,
because they're good. Exactly.
It's the same thing in Overwatch.
Right, because they're good. And it's like, and I love that aspect about these types of games. Is like they're designed in a way that allows kind of like this skill cap to show, in a way that's not cheesy. And like, this is some of my problems with like fighting games, is like, sometimes it doesn't always feel like skill. It feels like overpowered cheesiness, and it's like, it's not that fighting games are bad, because obviously we do Smash Brothers, and we want to definitely go into a lot of the FGC games and stuff like that. Like I enjoy those games themselves, but like I usually get burnt out because somebody will find this cheap ass tactic. And like you said with your friend who learned Borderlands in and out, I am not going to do that. Like my whole list is filled with games of me having passion and fulfillment playing the game the way I want to play the game. I love the experience of playing those games. That's what makes me play them, is I actually enjoy them. Just if I'm playing all by myself, then I'm playing all by myself. The game experience is what I'm looking for. And so, like this game just it like opened my creativity too. I think I feel a lot of the way I feel about like being able to mod games because of StarCraft. They had that giant arcade mode where you could literally do anything, and like games were born from their like community, like Blizzard's community. And like there's a lot of things that Blizzard does right about its community, and I think there's a lot of things that it does wrong. The biggest thing is trying to please everybody. Like, please stop that. It's not the route you should be trying to go. Like the whole WoW thing that you mentioned, I think that's kind of like why they ended up where they ended up, is just trying to make everybody happy. And it's like, stop. You can't do that. You made a great game. Press on, this, that, and the other. But this was just, I know a classic when I see one. And even at such a young age, it was just one of those games that's clearly going to be a classic. And if anybody is going to be a true historian of games, and we're going to have a long history of games, I can't imagine StarCraft not being one of them. Like, I just can't. It's just that good of a game. They really took care of that game. I like StarCraft 2, but, like I've been preaching on almost every podcast, I feel like it's not that they lost the spirit of the game. There was just no real reason for them to get rid of the old units. On online competitive play. To me, like, my brain goes, why? Why? And like, obviously they're in the campaign, but like just not in competitive. And I feel like some games, all these games have something familiar, and they connect in different ways. Some games, they try to oversimplify, there's one unit that does this, and that's its role. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with having two units that fulfill the same role. Then you end up in situations to where people play their preferences instead of, well, if this happens, I have to build Vikings. Like it would have went a long way, and you would have had a lot of different kinds of like flavors of each and every race. So it's like, this guy likes to do heavy Ling, and, this guy likes to do heavy Hydras. This guy likes to do heavy Lurkers, and, like all the old units, he builds Defilers and stuff like that, and this, that, and the other. This guy builds, I forgot what the red Archon looking things were. It's been such a long time. It's just, it would have went a long way. And I think, obviously, your game's harder to balance. Like, your game's simple, and it's still hard to balance. Like, I don't think that's an easy task to do. And I know they're trying to hit that perfect, meshing line, but like, I don't think you're going to get it. And the game would just be a lot more interesting if there was more things happening and people could play it with different kinds of things. It's more entertaining to watch that way too. So, I know I'm kind of beating it up a little bit. It's just, I don't know. I have so much respect for the game, what they created, what Blizzard did, that, I kind of just have to throw that in there. But before we go, I have to kind of mention one other game that wasn't in the five that I chose to pick, but still, I think something that I want to mention, just because it was one of those games that kind of had the same fulfilling experience, which is another Blizzard game, Diablo 2, which is kind of let you know how I feel about Diablo 3. I want to shit on it.
I love Diablo 3. I play that game still all the time.
It's okay. It's just not Diablo 2. It's just not, and
I think the final product is better than Diablo 2. I think the initial product was not even close.
Yeah, I'll respect that. It's not that it's a terrible game. It's just, I don't even want to go there. Because it definitely is just a preference. It's just a preference.
Mhm.
It's going on my list for goodness sake, and I can't even tell you why it's influential to me. I just have really fond memories. I just like the game.
So it's all the we've hit all the Blizzard fronts, except for the Lost Vikings. But I don't think anyone remembers that game too
I
well.
remember that game. Dan,
I
I
don't remember
love the Lost
actually.
Vikings.
I had never played it, but I knew of its existence.
I wouldn't call it super influential, but it was a puzzle game.
Yeah.
I like puzzles. I like puzzle games too. You know, it's kind of like a simpler Zelda in a lot of senses. You know, so there's a lot of things I liked about it. You know, but
I never played it.
it was a decent game. It was a decent game. I was really young, so you know maybe
Yeah,
not the
it was before my time of really like getting too into games.
luck of the draw for me. You know, so that's really the only reason that I played it. But you know, Diablo 2, I love that game. I love that game, and it deserves mention. It deserves mention.
Yeah, we hit all the major Blizzard trees, which are StarCraft, Diablo, Warcraft, and now Overwatch.
They make good games. They do.
I
That
agree
can't be denied.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm excited for the possible, probable Diablo announcement, whatever that may be, whether it be a remastered version of 2 or whether it be a brand new game. But that will happen soon at not E3, at BlizzCon.
Yeah, I keep hearing, you know, the
It's one or
winds
the
of
other.
rumor.
One or
Yeah,
the other.
I hope it's 4, and I hope they do.
I hope it's both. Fuck it. You know?
I kind of like your thinking. I kind of like your thinking, you know, and I think it'll satisfy a lot of people because it's not like Diablo 3 is not a popular game. You know, I think it has its
It definitely
choosers.
died in popularity over the years, but like when it first came out, it was really popular. Then it became really quickly unpopular because the auction house system. Then they got rid of that with Loot 2.0, and then they even enhanced upon that further with the Reaper of Souls expansion. And I think that's when it was probably at its peak.
Yeah.
Now it's just rinse, wash, repeat with the seasons. Like I still play it, but that's just because I have a problem.
Right, and that's well, both games were like that. To be honest, you know, Diablo 2, you played it because you liked it, really,
Yeah.
and like that game just did it better than Diablo 3 for me. And it's like again, it's not a bad game. It's just
No, it's just
they super oversimplified the game.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like why would you do that? You know, people liked building skill trees. Oh, I'm gonna build a fire paladin. I don't remember what they were called, but I used to kind of know. You know, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna build, you know, a bone spear necromancer, all bone skills, all curses. You know, like I don't know. There's a lot of cool things about the game, and now it's just kind of like, well, you can do everything, which is cool in some ways, and then you know, I don't know. The story was kind of blah too. You could have did better.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. The
Blizzard.
story in 3 is bad, but that's why I like the like bounties edition, so you don't have to just play the story back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, I think that's it. I got nothing else.
Yeah, I'm good, man. So these are 5 games that influenced our lives. You know, like it was an interesting run. I learned about Dan's addiction to DDR, which is kind of cool. You know, I like the story.
I like
You know?
DDR. DDR is great. I mean, I play Rock Band, not every day, but probably weekly. I still buy songs in Rock Band. I bought a song yesterday. Play that game pretty often. So that's my DDR for now, as I don't have actual DDR.
One day. Do you
yeah,
do Just
I mean-
Dance by any chance?
What's that?
Do you do Just Dance by any chance? Like, obviously, it's a lot different, but
Nah, I don't like Just Dance that much. I had the one for the Kinect, Dance Central,
Hmm?
when that first came out, and I thought that was kind of fun. But I like DDR better. I mean, it's obviously DDR dancing is less like real dancing and more like just stomping on lights, but I like it a lot more. I think it's a lot more fun, and I think it's more of a workout too.
Yeah, to a lot of degree, because there's so much finesse.
Great,
and
it's really
Just
good
Dance.
cardio. Really, really good cardio.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that, you guys. Thanks for guys coming out, man. We really appreciate the views and all that other stuff. Thanks for the communication in the chat and everything like that. Hopefully we can catch you guys next week. Until then, see you guys later.
Peace out, everybody.